When we hear about something that happened a century and a half ago, we tend to think of it in modern terms. So you might think the surgical removal of Wicomico County from old Somerset County must have been about politics.
Well, it turns out it wasn't politics, but economics. Charlie asked an expert. Here's what he found out.
It's hard to imagine that 150 years ago, Somerset County was almost twice the size it is today. I went to see my old friend Phillip LeBel to find out how that all came about.
What was it like 150 years ago when this happened here?
150 years ago when it happened was just after the Civil War, and we need to keep that in mind.
You may recall Dr. Phillip LeBel. He's a Salisbury kid who traveled the world and became an economist. Came home and wrote a brief relation on the state of Delmarva, a history which includes the occupation of Delmarva by Union troops.
They were here to make sure that this place did not join the rest of them in seceding. What we have is that Union presence that sort of solidified that this region was going to remain in the Union, despite whatever sentiments that people had in favor of the Confederacy at the time. Still a very, very rural feeling to that community, and yet commerce was beginning to expand. Salisbury became a focal point of commerce because it had a river that was navigable right in the heart of the peninsula, and therefore could reach out to other smaller towns because it connected what, let's call them very minor roads that we had in place at that time. In 1867, you didn't have paved roads, and so they're hauling a lot of agricultural products to larger ports like Baltimore or Philadelphia or Norfolk, and so Salisbury began to thrive. It was not an industrial town, it was a commercial town. So imagine 1860, a fire takes place and devastates most of Salisbury, and this is before Wicomico County has been established. Just barely a few years after the founding of Wicomico County, the second fire was equally devastating and sort of set the pace of what Salisbury reconstruction would be. So it's a kind of an interesting juncture for the creation of Salisbury as the new capital. Whereas up until that time, we have to remember that the capitals of Somerset and Worcester counties were respectively Princess Anne and Snow Hill, way off on the periphery and not in the geographic center that Wicomico County came to represent. Today, and you see the sign for Salisbury, it says Crossroads of Delmarva. Well, most people think of that as the intersection of Route 50 and Route 13, which it does reflect.
So they were the right place at the right time.
Right place at the right time. Industries.
You know, it's good to have smart friends. And happy birthday, Wicomico County. Charles Paparella, WBOC News.
A must-have for any Delmarva Culture Library, a brief relation of the state of Delmarva is available at the Ward Museum in Salisbury through the Maryland History Press or through the author.
Good stuff.